When we look at the skills and qualities that leaders will need in the future, then always in the top 2 or 3 are the human interpersonal skills, closely followed now by high-level cognitive skills such as problem solving, creativity, and decision making. And these are the skills that will differentiate leaders in the future. They're also the skills that many of our leaders and future leaders are lacking. But the good news is that these are all skills and qualities which we can learn and develop. Behaviour drives performance, and research confirms that the one thing that all effective and successful leaders have in common is that they have higher than average levels of emotional intelligence. There is a direct link between performance and self-awareness, self-management, and understanding others. In contrast, we only have to look around organisations. We all have seen those leaders who have little or no awareness of how their actions and behaviours are actually impeding the success of their teams. Their levels of EQ, emotional intelligence, are really quite low. Their understanding and empathy for others is lacking, as is their understanding of their own behaviours and the appropriateness of those behaviours for the situation. They find it very difficult to be able to adapt their behaviours, and unfortunately the cost of their lack of agility to both the organisation and themselves can really be very high. Leadership is not something to be learned and then ticked off as being completed. Developing leadership capabilities is a continual process. All leaders can improve their performance and effectiveness. One of the first conversations I have when talking about leadership development is that importance of a leader understanding their behavioural preferences, how their behaviours impact on people, understanding the preferences of others, and then having that ability to what we call flex their style, flex their behavioural style to align it to the other parties, to the other people, and to the situation. So, developing as a leader. The question I get asked the most when speaking about behavioural preferences, do they change over time? Well, sometimes I overhear people completing their behavioural map and say things like, if I had done this X years ago, it would be different. According to Carl Jung, over the duration of an individual's life, there is a shift in focus on the different mental processes. By that, I'm referring to thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition. And those are the factors which influence our behaviour. Initially, an individual specialise by focusing upon their strongest 2 mental processes. And then later in life, we tend to move to our focus to become more of an all-rounder, more of a generalist by developing our weaker mental processes. I sometimes hear people refer to having mellowed as their dominant behaviours become less prominent and new behaviours influenced by other mental processes are developing. When considering behavioural preferences as opposed to personality styles, research has demonstrated that behavioural preferences are much more fluid. They can be learnt and developed using the plasticity of the brain. That's the ability to create and build new neural pathways. Hence, new behaviours can be formed and new habits developed. We also know from evidence neuroscience, that the things we pay attention to will develop in strength. Hence, if we believe Jung about the way in which our mental processes naturally develop and integrate what we know about the plasticity of the brain, this can provide great insights into how we can actually develop our leaders and their leadership behaviours to improve the effectiveness of our organisations. So what if we do develop leadership behaviours and effectiveness in such a way that it mirrors the way Jung's mental processes naturally develop? If we look at the way many organisations identify their leaders, a team member does a great job. They get noticed. A supervisory position becomes available. The team member is promoted. On Friday, they're a team member. And on Monday, they're required to have developed a whole new set of skills and behaviours, which often are influenced by those less preferred mental processes. The probability is that at that point in time, the individual has developed their dominant first and second preferences and is skillfully using those behaviours. However, the chances are that their third and fourth mental processes are yet to be explored and behaviours developed. The analogy I use is when an individual is required to use less developed behaviours, it can be likened to writing with the wrong hand. It feels awkward, it takes longer, requires more concentration, and ultimately is draining of energy. However, just as with our handwriting, the more conscious practice and focused attention given to the behaviour, the easier it will get, as new neural pathways are created and strengthened in our brains. As a leader's career progresses, the need to become less of a specialist and more of a generalist increases. To be effective as a leader, an individual must develop their behaviours and skills to provide inspiration, engagement and motivation, to move team members towards achievement of organisational goals, whilst balancing their focus on skills and behaviours influenced by opposing mental processes, such as the setting the strategic direction, analysing data, predicting future trends, clarifying desired results, and removing barriers which are hindering their progress. Great leaders are the ones who have learnt to flex their leadership style, to move with ease around what we call the behavioural map. They adapt their style to accommodate the needs of the people and the situation that they face. They neither overuse or underuse their behaviours. They know exactly what is required and when it's required. A jigsaw discovery behavioural map enables leaders to plan their leadership development by building on their behavioural preferences and mapping out a development plan, which will increase their ability to navigate their behavioural map, leading to a more effective style of leadership.